what about the current situation from your perspective? Is the board member issue going to be the focal point?
No, I think women's leadership in any sphere and any type of organization should be the focal point, not just boards.
Well, it's easier said than done. Don't we need to have a breaking ground?
We do. We need something that sets a precedent in every country. Yes.
What do you think, Ms. Xiong?
Yeah, I think we need more women in all levels of like companies and also government organizations. Yeah.
That sounds politically correct, isn't it? The question is how. The question is how. We've seen, let's just say people in Europe particularly, started with the board member issue, that there has to be a percentage of board members of multinational companies that have to be women. Otherwise, these multinational companies are not likely to be respected. Is that going to be the way? That's their way. Is that way going to work in China?
Yeah, I think it will also work in China, because if we have more like women board members, we may have the company will run better. There are research that could support this.
What kind of research are we talking about?
Maybe Julia can tell me more
There's
about
all
it.
kinds of research. There's several studies that show that when more women are in the leadership of companies, private sector companies, board and C-level positions, the company performs better. It's more profitable than the same type of company in its sector that doesn't have as many women.
But then on the other hand, people would argue China has already long has this tradition of, even a quote from Chairman Mao, women holding half of the sky. And women's quote unquote equality at workplace is not a problem at all. Look at the private sector. We've got a lot of women who are the heads of the business. Probably there are also a few sitting in the boards, if they have a board. So is China's situation different? Should we have a very different focus?
Well, China's doing pretty good when you look at the statistics compared to some other countries, but why is it not 50%? Why isn't it 50% of leaders in all organizations are women here? That's not what it is.
Well, is that too much expectation though?
No, I don't think it is. I think that's what every country and every company should be aiming for.
Well, yes, aiming for, but I know you are coming from the UN Women. This is an organization totally advocating for women's rights and equalities with men. But the thing is, we have to start from something pragmatic, systematically pushing it forward. So aiming it too high, is it really going to help us? Having an agenda is good, but will it really help us? We have a goal that's unlikely to be realized in the near term.
If you don't aim high enough, you also don't get to the goal. So would an Olympic athlete aim for number 3, or would he aim for number 1, right?
Wishful thinking or actually practical road ahead?
I was going to suggest one way, the European way, is to have a mandated quota of women on boards. There's another alternative from Australia, and that is that it's not mandated that companies have a certain percentage of women on the board, but they have to explain it in their annual report. If they have no women, they have to have a statement in their annual report saying why no women on their boards. And just that one soft change made many companies add women to their boards.
We've already seen Julie coming from originally United States, but now working for UN, very active and enthusiastic about this. What about Ms. Xiong? You're originally coming from China. You have been arguing for the same sake, but what about the implementation? Is it possible? We all understand the theories. So what about the real situation, the realities when it comes to implementation?
I think the problem lies in also about the culture. It's also about the culture, because like men and women, they don't actually trust a women boss. When a woman becomes a boss, they will say it's like a bossy. They say they are bossy, or like they don't have the they think they don't have the enough ability to lead a company or lead any organization.
But aren't we talk about two things? I mean, on the one hand, we talk about women eventually reaching the goal and reaching the position of being a leader. You're talking about once women are in the leadership, they seem to get what you consider as more scrutiny than the others. It seems that we're talking about two different stages of development. But before we move on to that, let's take a look at some of the ranking of countries or percentages of women in senior business roles. This is a real number. New research from Grant Thornton reveals that Eastern European countries dominate the international legal table for senior female business leaders. Russia has once again topped the ranking with 45% of senior management positions held by women, followed by the Philippines and Lithuania. And China ranks the 9th with 30%. US sees 23%, while the UK is 21%. Japan, on the other hand, only 7% of senior leadership roles are held by women, remained at the bottom of the list. We don't want to single any countries out, but we want to have a general situation to be introduced to our audience over there. So it seems China's position is not that bad. Xiong?
Yeah, it's very interesting that compared to some developing countries, there's
even developed countries, the US is only 21%, China already 30%.
Yeah, compared to developed countries, some developing countries like China and some like BRIC countries, they actually have higher percentage of women's leadership. I think maybe one reason is that we are in a very fast developing country. So in this area, women are more that they have the opportunity to get to break the rules and take the challenge.
I feel like Ms. Xiong is already bringing us to another philosophical talk. So before you do that, let me ask you about some of the specific interesting case that you and your colleagues been working on. For example, when we talk about professional women, you guys were putting a poster, shall we say, or an ad in Beijing's subway station before the Lunar New Year.
Yeah.
Because during the Lunar New Year, all the young women going back home, their migrant workers going back home, and their parents would ask, so have you found a man? And therefore they feel embarrassed. The whole holiday season seems to be scrutinized by the whole family member. So you guys put out a advertisement suggesting differently. Tell us about what exactly it is and help us to understand what are the realities that young women in China are facing these days.
Yeah, I think marriage pressure is really a problem. Like many young women and also men, they are facing this problem. Because we have the culture that a lot of parents and families, they expect you to, not only that you graduate from a good university where you can have a good job, but you also will have to have a nice family. If you don't have a family, that your life is not
completed, as they say. Yes, we indeed. So what did you guys do?
So we placed an advertisement in Dongzhimen station. So this we want to call for
What's the advertisement like?
We have a little doll and like a girl, and they had a big heart in front of her, and they say that dear parents, that I'm single but I'm good. Like a single can also be happy, and yeah, something like this. And I also have a hotline. We have a hotline saying that if you have this
for happy single ladies,
and also men.
Very interesting. That makes a stir in the Chinese society because that was really the cultural tradition, going back home, being scrutinized by everybody. Julie, you see, the Chinese young women are doing something very courageous and funny in a way to play with some of the stereotypes. Is that going to be the way out from social change to real economic rights change, as we mentioned in the boardroom and many others? How far is it?
Social change and economic change are interrelated, so I love this example. I'm so happy.
Did you pose in front of that?
No,
poster?
I wish I could have. I found out about it a little bit too late. But it's a great example of using humor to catch the attention of the people to make a social point. And we need to see more of that happening.
Did many women coming back from their hometown suggesting to you they were having better time than they used to be?
They suggest us to put the advertisement in their hometown. We
I
need
see.
more.
Wow, it's very interesting. Having said that, though, we really need to help our audience to get what exactly is the reality, and also what could be the most efficient way getting to the goals that both of you, coming from different cultures, but knowing Chinese situation very well, most efficient way to get there. Julie?
Work with young people. Change the attitudes of young people. The young people today, their attitudes can change a little more easily than the older generations, and they're the leaders of the future. They're going to make the difference. They're the mothers and fathers of the future. They're the heads of corporations of the future.
Right.
They're the scientists of the future. They're the government leaders of the future.
You seem to push the responsibilities away and say, well, it's all on your young kids.
No, it's not all on them. The older generations need to guide them. Organizations like your NGO, like UN, need to come in and help as well.
Okay, and what about from your perspective, Jing? Advocacy is going to work, but it's not necessarily going to have one poster in the subway change the whole attitude.
Yeah.
It's going to be back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have to be prepared for that. And also, you cannot sometimes have humor about everything, every challenge you have. So the reality is like that. What can you do? You and your colleagues, for example, about economic rights, more equality, more gender parity, what can you really do pragmatically?
Because every time we do our advocacy activities, people will tell us that, oh, you need more, and also you need to do something practical. But actually, for us, we are young people. We don't have a lot of resources. We put this into we make it into a news, or we want more public discussion about this kind of topic. We think that if more people are talking about it, then there's hope that we could change it.
Attention
means
attention. Possible opportunities for change.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Having said that, though, some would also suggest there probably could be some wishful thinking, because when you have in a society more freedom, it does not necessarily going to guarantee you to make what you later could be considering as the most appropriate choice. On that point, Jing, may you say your generation are having much more options,
Yeah.
but people have difficulties to choose. And also, because of not fighting through to get what you have already today, would in a way help you to ignore some of the most cherished rights as other generations of women see. They have been fighting very hard for. What do you make of that kinds of statements or people's perceptions about you?
We are fighting hard too, because maybe compared to our older generation, we have more freedom. But I think for me, and also for many young girls who graduated from universities, who have education, who had the opportunity to have education, they want more. When they come to the society, when they want to find a job, they will find that it's very difficult for women to find a job. They will face very severe discrimination or obstacles if they want to achieve their dreams. So I think we have a lot, but we still want more, because that's what we deserve.